there is no peace. There is zero fucking peace in this house unless those dogs are asleep. And that is the only time when my soul can rest.
Yeah, I feel the same about my kids, honestly.
I mean, technically, my dog is bigger than your kids. So
Yes, that is, how much does your dog weigh?
about 130 pounds.
I weigh 130 pounds. So your dog is the size of me.
Yeah, she's bigger than Jill for sure, too.
Oh,
Meaner.
yeah. And meaner.
Mm. Hmm.
Good save.
She's like, I will bite this motherfucker.
Who,
And then she
Jillian?
bites Locke. See, he's getting it back.
Yeah,
Like, karma comes around.
yeah.
Let Pearl know.
Oh,
Like,
I forgot we kept him for like a weekend or something.
yeah. Look, I don't know what happened. He used to be fine with kids. Like, my mom used to walk him when I was in school, and every morning she would like take him down to like get pet by the kids at the end of the fucking road and all that stuff, yada yada yada. Phil and his wife used to watch him, and he was always good. And then one time, he wasn't good anymore.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he just got old and decided like, I don't want to put up with this shit anymore.
That is a vibe.
Yeah,
That is
I
a
mean, I
tick.
get that. The older I get, the more I don't want to deal with anything I don't want to deal with.
I I feel like for me, I've realized like so much stuff doesn't actually fucking matter.
Yes. Yeah.
Like when you're younger, like everything's important. It all matters. The color of my shoes has to match the color of my soul. And now I'm just like, as long as they don't make my fucking feet hurt.
I know. The collection of heels I have, and I only wear heels like twice a year.
I don't wear heels even that often.
Hopefully not at all, Stephen.
Hey, fuck you. It's 2025. Get with the times. Don't
Be
spit up.
whatever I want to be. Do what I want. You can, in fact, do what you want.
Um, yeah, what do I want to do? I guess we're talking about bodybuilding stuff. That's a I do what I want kind of thing, right? So no Phil. Phil has some family stuff going on. He's being a good husband and supportive and stuff. So
Thank you, Phil.
way to go, Phil. Like the fuck, I'm not thanking him. Doesn't do anything for me. You know?
Well, there's got to be one good human on this podcast. So thank you, Phil. Keeping us surrounded.
I think we're all good humans. It's just we express it differently.
That is true.
Phil is more nice than we are.
Yes.
You and I are what I like to define as kind. Where Phil might not tell you. I think Phil would, but like the idea, Phil might not tell you you have something stuck in your teeth. You and me are going to be like, yo, you got something stuck in your teeth. It's like we will give people the things that might make them uncomfortable or challenge them, because it will be for the better in the long term. Whereas Phil, I think, is nicer than us, and he probably doesn't do that quite the same, at least with us. I'm
Yeah.
sure he does with his
Phil
clients.
let me look like a fucking idiot with something in my teeth.
Yeah. He's let me look like an idiot with many things.
I mean, did he let you, or did you just look like an idiot by yourself?
Look, we're not here to fucking try and argue intricacies of this, okay?
I'm a female. I am always here to argue. Everything, I can make anything an argument. Ask my husband.
Oh, I mean, come on, I'm contrarian Steve. I get it. I do
All
get
right,
it.
so we are going to talk bodybuilding, kind of in general, but just I think this is the slower time of year for bodybuilding in terms of, I mean, there is still a lot of shows, but people are starting to get into their off seasons, thinking about when they're going to compete next year, if they've already competed, or I have a few clients who are lifestyle clients where, you know, they've been with me and we're starting to talk like, hey, maybe I want to do a bodybuilding show. What does that look like? What does that timeline look like?
So I think this time of year is busier for natural bodybuilding, right? You have like WNBF Worlds coming up towards the end of the year. Typically, you have Ben Weider, which is like an IFBB Pro qualifier for natural athletes. NJ Universe is like in a week, not fucking when this comes out, but like so, like natural bodybuilding. I feel like at the end of the year is when it's like at its peak of the big shows. Yorton is obviously a different time of the year, but whatever. The NSPC IFBB, I definitely feel like tends to like ratchet down. There's less shows. But remember, like some of those years, there was like that one weekend where there was a show with like 400 plus here in Florida, 600 in Texas, and then like 500 plus in California, all on the same day in different parts of the country. And I was like, what the fuck just happened?
It can get a little busy. Well, and you're in Florida. Florida stays pretty busy year round with Like, I feel like that's a pretty big hub for a lot of shows, especially NPC.
Yeah, I feel like, because for whatever reason, we are very concerned with how people look down here, apparently.
Well, it's warmer year round, so I live in the Midwest, so I get to do winter bulks because no one's gonna know.
Yeah, I just stay fat.
Yeah,
That's-
well, do what you want to do, Bill.
I'm not fat. So actually, maybe this is a really good place to start. Like, if you're in bodybuilding, you already know about this. If you're looking at getting into bodybuilding, you may kind of already know about this or kind of like be sniffing it out. Like the body dysmorphia that comes along with that shit.
Yeah. And I feel like the first time you compete, in my personal experience, that's the worst my body dysmorphia ever was my first, because the first time competing while I was actively in prep, I convinced myself I don't look like these other girls who've competed, right? Because until you see the tan and the show day and the full thing, you're like, you get kind of body dysmorphia and kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Anyway, so you'll convince yourself you're not small enough, you're not lean enough, whatever it is. And then post show, that is the worst body dysmorphia I ever had, just because depending on, I know my first experience, I did not follow a reverse diet. My coach at that time didn't even know about reverse dieting. So I was just blindly eating and eating a lot. And I gained not like 30 pounds, but relatively quickly, I was 15 pounds up. And that was a huge, tough time for me.
So like I was on the different end stuff. So my first show, I was not a big guy. I was small. This was back in like 2013. And I was like, God damn, I look so fucking good. And it's just like when men's physique was still early and like you didn't have to be fucking a behemoth. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. And then I got like dead last. And I was pissed off because I was like, I think I look fucking great. Fuck is wrong with you guys? And then I gained like 15 pounds in a week and I had a show the next weekend. And then I tied for last place. But then, and it wasn't quite so bad. I don't know, maybe so bad back then. I don't know if I'm like desensitized, if I didn't know as much back then. Like being an amateur bodybuilder at shows back in the early 2010 teens was such a different experience than nowadays. Where like nowadays you can go to amateur shows and you will see dudes rip shit shredded 280 pounds on stage sometimes. At amateur shows, like these guys haven't gone pro. And you'll see dudes that are just like, you're like, what the fuck? They're like two and a half of me. And I don't feel like that was the case back then. Like guys would be bigger than you. Bikini was way different
Yeah.
in general. Like that was,
Which is wild to see fit model now because it's almost like I traveled back in time.
see, for me, it's not even because I got in 2013 and what it was in 2013 is very different than what they were doing at the Olympia level and what they've like shown for what they want for it so far. For fit model. But like I remember I had friends that were winning bodybuilding contests that were like just people I worked with. And yeah, they were in great shape. Maybe they were doing some drugs, but it wasn't like a crazy amount. And you wouldn't look at them and be like, oh, fuck, that dude's wooded out. Because obviously, if you don't have that inflection on it, it's the same thing. Um, and so for me, I feel like my body dysmorphia came in more like in the coming years after that when I was like, "Oh, well, I wanna do better," and as the sport was changing, then I would always see myself as small. Like, "I'm not big enough, I'm not big enough, I'm not big enough." Um, and then just being less happy because, of course, I would put on a lot of weight in my off seasons, and so then I wouldn't be lean, and I'd be mad about that, or I'd be uncomfortable about that. And I still wouldn't feel like I was big enough. I don't think the one thing I do remember about the last season I competed, I think it was 2022, um I was happy with I was like, "Holy fuck. Like, that is an awesome physique. I am really happy with how I look." Um, and I felt that way before the show, during the show, after the show, all the other stuff. I'm still a lot smaller than a lot of other guys, but I was like, "Wow, it took me that long to finally, like, be content with my physique." And that was a really weird, um, kind of realization. And I said it because it, like, hit me the other day, like, coming back post-surgery, and I'm finally like, starting to hit weights again that I used to hit and be able to do stuff. I'm like, "Ah, fuck," like, I feel like myself again finally. I feel like, yes, this is where I really like how I look and what this means for me. And I'm like, oh fuck, that took a lot of time. And this is one of those things that I don't feel like many people appreciate going through that crazy diet, getting that lean, doing all that stuff, and then having it be associated with the best you've ever looked and your worth to some degree. Because let's be real, women have been told their worth matters on how they look and um, their weight for fucking ever. As long as I've been around, anyways. And so you put that on top of it and you put the glitz and the glam and like everybody telling you how great you look because they know you've been working hard and all this other stuff. And like that shit's hard to come out from and be, I think, realistic with what is health and what is reasonable and like where we're at in the process and being not even that we necessarily okay with our bodies, but like enjoying our bodies and what they do and how they look and all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure you have the same experience, but I have a lot of clients who they do a show and then post show's hard. I do set them up on a good reverse and I am a good coach, but sometimes it doesn't follow through the way it should. But they will jump trying to get right back into a diet or pick another show real quick. And it's like this quick just trying to get back that feeling of their body that you were at stage lean. That is part I think I struggle with that more than I struggled with body dysmorphia. And I only say that because my first show, I went up and I went up quick. It was an August show. And then like a month post show, I was so uncomfortable. I'm like, I'm just going to pick another show. So I picked a November show so that I could get back to that feeling, right? And I did that and I did good. And then I reversed poorly again because I had that same coach that just didn't know about reversing. So then I put on more than I did the first post show, try to get back, pick another show. And then it was the holidays. I never recommend anybody's first show or first season being close to the holidays because then I had Thanksgiving, I had Christmas, and I tried to sign back up for a spring show. Got about a month into prep and I just crashed because I had put my body through too much back and forth. Um, and I do not recommend that. But that's why you have a coach that can guide you. Like if a client's like, oh, my first show to be like a week before Thanksgiving. I'm like, not a great plan. Not a
Please
solid
no.
plan.
Yeah, it's hard. It's me like people who are experienced competitors and who are really in the lifestyle can do it. And
Yeah.
I do think it's also important to note that conditioning standards back when you first got into the sport for bikini are wildly different than what they are now. But it should also say something to the fact of like, okay, cool. If we dieted down for that show and we put on 15, 20 pounds, whatever, we're still if we were even close to conditioning with that extra weight, we're still probably healthy. We're still probably in reasonable shape, right? We're not really overweight at that point. We're definitely not obese or anything. And so this idea that like now we're like, oh, I don't like that this is where I'm at now. Like that can be challenged there to some degree, I would say, or I would argue even of like, because I know I do the same thing to clients all the time. Like, I feel like I have more body fat than I want. I was like, yeah, but do you feel good? Do you have energy? Are you sleeping well? Like listing all those other pieces that aren't just that visual relation of how we look. Um, and then trying to put it in a more objective place of, okay, cool. Well, look, we are 20 pounds over stage weight and our conditioning was perfect for whatever it would be. So very lean. This is a good place to be. We can still get back to there when it's time. We're not like out of striking distance. We don't want to go further away, correct? Um, but this is a spot where realistically we should be feeling really good about ourselves. Because that post show kind of back and forth, I think the reverse diet plan matters. Preparing for it to a certain degree matters. You can only prepare for it to a certain degree, though. And if you haven't done it, I don't know anybody that's really just knocked it out of the park on their first try.
Yeah, I
And
can't
most
think
people
of
don't
any
get to the second or
client,
third either.
yeah, that stands out where they just like, we're 100% because it's hard and you can't explain it until you're there. But a big component to that is your mental aspect of it because when you're going through prep, almost every single person, if you're getting truly stage lean, is going to start to not only doubt themselves, but try to talk themselves out of it. because almost every show I've done a few weeks out when I feel like shit and I'm lean, I'm like, why are you doing this, Kaylee? Do you really want me doing this? Because you're just so hungry and your body is going to try to fight you getting to stage lean because it's just not a normal place you can stay. It's not comfortable. And so then not only are you fighting your mind to get to the show, but then you do it. And I cannot explain, but there is a quick snap change. You no longer have that end date. And your desire, motivation, and ability to stick to a plan when you're hungry and your hormones are trying to fluctuate back up to a normal level, it is rough. Like, it is very, very hard. And I think that probably contributes to the body dysmorphia because your mental state, your hormone levels, everything is just not at a happy level. And it just really throws things off. Because I've had a lot of conversations with clients where they're like, sorry if I'm being a baby or this. I'm like, no, you're like, this is all normal, but you don't know that. You don't know until you know. And so I think that's why it is absolutely crucial. If you are going to do a show and take your body to that level, please, please, please research coaches. Don't just be like, oh, my friend used this guy from my gym, so I'm just going to use this guy from my gym. And then next thing you know, it don't work out. So really research and make sure that you're choosing somebody that has your best interest at heart, and will take you there a healthy way. Unless, with that said, some people will say, I don't give a shit. I want to win. And they hire according to who can get me to this goal without health in mind. And that's, I mean, we all have free will. So that's, we can do that. The same as Steven can wear high heels.
I feel like thank you,
You're welcome.
for the justification and the support first and foremost. But I feel like what I see, and maybe it's just because of where I've been in recent years and the team or whatever, most people that are really truly involved in the sport, that are continual about it, they are 100% looking for who they think is going to help them win over necessarily who's going to help them have the best experience or keep them healthy or XYZ, whatever. um, I have a secondary point of honestly, it was a Reddit post that I saw earlier today go up um, about like teams and working with a coach and getting put with a different coach on the team that wasn't that coach and how that can fuck shit up too. Yada yada. Well, maybe we touch on that one later if we can remember and the ADHD doesn't take us away. Um, but it's really this weird thing because like the carrot and the stick are gone after the show's done, right? When the season's done, the last show's done, they're both gone. There's no carrot of, okay, cool, I'm getting on stage, everybody's looking at me, like I'm getting the acknowledgement for all my hard work, yada yada, whatever. Which may or may not even feel that way. I didn't feel like I got acknowledgement for my hard work when I was placed last. Oddly enough, I also didn't feel like I got acknowledgement for my hard work when I won my natural pro card. Like I was like, oh wow, this really wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Um, and so the sparkles is not there anymore, except for like the idea of maybe going on stage and doing it again. I don't get to wear a sparkly suit, so I don't know.
I wonder what they would do if a man came out in a blinged bottom. Like, is there any rules against it?
Don't know. I'm not gonna find out. Um, but
If
secondarily,
anybody was gonna bling their, what do they call them, trunks, whatever they are,
the
it
junk
would be
trunks,
it would be you. Like, just full out coming out and bling like, "What's up?" Because I do have a
maybe.
picture of you in my bikini top.
Yeah, and I rocked that shit. I filled it out like a fucking champ. Um, but then the second part is like this: the quote, the proverbial stick isn't there anymore, right? Like if I'm not on point, I'm not gonna have to be on stage being looked at by random people in very little clothes and being judged for it. I can put on a t-shirt, I can put on a sweatshirt, I can put on the gray sweatpants that Jillian loves. You know? Yeah, she does.
Visual I did not need on this
It's the butt.
Thursday
There's nothing in
afternoon.
the front. It's like it's smooth. I'm like a
Oh,
Ken.
perfect. She just likes
Mhm.
the smooth. She likes the Ken doll look.
It's the cheeks, yeah.
I
It's the
like
cheeks,
it. Okay.
you know? Hey, dude, girls like cake too. Like,
Yep,
don't let
that is
anybody fool you.
true. My husband, he still has a butt, but he used to have like a dump truck when we started dating.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck the dump trucks makes are called. Um, but whatever. A real Mac. Yeah. But so like now that's gone too. So all of the things that kind of like kept you in this more in terms of like, oh well, you're going to get all these good things out of it. And if you fuck up, the bad things are going to happen and you're not going to like it. Those are all gone, and now it's just like, well, you can do whatever the fuck you want to some degree, which is kind of like normal life. And why I feel like when we're looking at, am I ready to step on stage? Am I ready to compete? It should be this kind of natural progression. And you and I both, like, this is how I became a prep coach, was like by getting people in shape, like helping them to build muscle and be leaner. And they're like, oh shit. And so now they start seeing themselves as somebody who that could possibly do this. And this becomes more realistic, as opposed to some people that I know we both have worked with also, where it's like, oh, I want to be somebody different. I'm just going to pick a show. Let's do a prep. And that's going to solve the problem for me. Um, so I do feel like that transition, or that difference of transition when you're going into the idea of doing a competitive bodybuilding show, regardless of what division, class, whatever, federation, is an important one, because the people who have like proven that to themselves, so we put on a little bit more muscle, we've gotten leaner, like they have more of those lifestyle habits, like well formed. Whereas the other people, like, you're hoping that the habits you form during that time stick to some degree. But we also, I would say, I know with almost certainty with those individuals, like that is a temporary change. As soon as the carrot and the stick are gone, they're going to go right back to what they used to before.
Yep, because they
Um,
were motivated. And then when motivation fades and you got to kick into that discipline level, that decides kind of who can live the lifestyle long term, I feel like. Or maybe at that point, because I think there are people who probably do a show, rebound, say, I hate bodybuilding, I'm out of this, whatever, and then later come back with a clearer head and say, okay, I used to fuck off on my diet, or I didn't follow my reverse, or whatever it is, or maybe it was a life thing, like maybe something big life event happened right after your show and you just didn't have the discipline or motivation or ability to stick, because that can happen too. People don't always fail by fault of their own only. Uh, but you can definitely come back into the sport. And I feel like, I don't know about you, Stephen, but me personally, I go in and out of, like, my discipline year round is pretty much there. Where I'm training, I enjoy being active, but there are definitely times where maybe a week or two has gone by. I'm like, I haven't trained. Like, am I even a fitness coach? But it's part of life. Like, that's really normal. But before anybody, like, if I have a client I have one right now, and she has done, I mean, she has blown her own goal out of the water for what she wanted for herself. She just got an in-body scan. She's just a lifestyle client. She's at 15% body fat. Like, she looks good. And last week when she checked, I was like, okay, when you first set your photos, like, you look like a competitor to me. And she's like, it's funny you say that. I was kind of thinking about, but with her, I'll use her as an example without using her name, but she has been very diligent. Like, yes, she's had times where she had a wedding to go to, or things where she wasn't 100%, but her discipline is in line, right? Like, she is a disciplined human. She has no show date. It just wanted to better herself. And so she would be a good candidate, where our plan right now is once she meets her official goal, we're going to reverse her, build some lean muscle, and then reassess about this time next year. And she would be a great candidate for it, because I know she can handle it. Like, 15% body fat for some females is pretty low. I mean, you have to actively try to get there. Some people might rest there naturally, but on the reverse of that, I have a client who has just not been following her diet. She has really struggled. She has a lot of food noise. It's not, she used to be a lot heavier. She made a huge transformation. She has competed before, but the past year, she's just had a rough time. And she emailed me a couple weeks ago. She's like, hey, I have a trip on this date next year. I have to get down to XYZ. And I'm like,
like, ooh,
right. Like, she already has a history of, like,
yeah.
really bad emotional eating and just things. And I'm like, saying you have to, like, basically saying, like, I'm not going to be good enough for this trip unless the scale says this. She would not be a candidate. If she was to ask me if she could do a bodybuilding show and start a prep, I'd be like, no, not with me. Because she's just doesn't have the discipline right now, just isn't there. It doesn't work out for her life right now. And so I know for me, somebody wanting to start a prep, I need to see that they pretty routinely don't miss training or cardio. I mean, in an off season or a lifestyle meaning, she wouldn't have much cardio, but are they checking off the boxes? Or, and I hate to say it this blatantly, I guess, but do they make excuses often? Because we do have valid excuses for things, but if you continue to have the same excuse and you haven't tried to adapt, change to make that outcome differently. So a good example is, hey, I was out shopping with my kids. They were hungry. I had to stop at McDonald's. I got a Big Mac meal. I was off plan. My personal opinion is if you had a true goal that you wanted to stick to, you can find something at McDonald's that can hold you over until you get to a place with a better, healthier option. I do this often. Sometimes McDonald's is just what we're going to do because we're out, we're not home. And I'll just get a 4-piece chicken nugget kids meal. It's got like a little bitty fry and 4 nuggets. It's enough to hold me over. What? Go ahead, Steven.
Taco Bell today, the day that we're recording this, November 6th, 2026, is the Baja Blast pie out now. I'm going to go pick one up. Apparently, you buy them frozen from the store. It's $20 for the pie, and
It's
I
a real
expect it to
pie.
be fucking disgusting.
Yeah, well, but do you have a rock solid physique goal right now? Like, do you have any?
No, but I'm also not going to eat the whole pie. And so my child, I feel like the way that I like to explain this now, like discipline, I, yes, it is discipline to a degree, but I feel like what that's become is those fucking roided out jack guys talking about discipline. You
Proteins
gotta
all.
want it hard, brother. Like fucking, you gotta just eat the chicken and the broccoli and the asparagus and tilapia to get fucking jacked and to put on all the muscle. And
That
I'm
is
like,
not my description of discipline, FYI. That's Steven's.
right. Well, no, but I mean, I feel like the perception of the word discipline comes down more to like, I'm just gonna fucking do it no matter what. And I just don't think that's realistically the case for fucking anybody.
Yeah, I like to see discipline as habit forming, like habits that you continue with. Like, I mean, they could be unhealthy. You could have unhealthy discipline, but that's what it means in my
You can.
mind is, am I in my day to day, am I doing things that are leading to what I actually want?
And so like the way that I've been describing that to people for a while now is natural. Does it feel natural to do the things that support the goal?
I like that.
Um, Ever since I got married, this has been like my thing because I recognized that yes, marriage is work, but it feels natural for me to do that work in my
Yeah.
marriage.
Yeah. It's like forcing a relationship, right? That will only work for so long.
Right. And so I think discipline to me from being so in this, it has almost become like this negative connotation with that kind of I'm going to force it because I fucking said I would, which you can, some
Yeah.
people
I mean,
can
I do
do.
that often with my training sometimes, but it's not because I don't want to do it. I enjoy it, but life be lifing some days with kids and Jake traveling, and some days for myself it works to be like, don't be a little bitch. You said you were gonna put on muscle. And I talk to myself that way, but like I talk to everybody that way. I'm not being mean to myself. Um for me, that aspect of discipline works because I know from experience that if I just go down to my gym in my basement, once I get about 5 minutes in, I'm gonna be good to go.
Right. And there and I don't want to be misunderstood. There are absolutely situations where it does take that, but it can't be the all the time thing. There has to be this natural inclination like, "Ooh, I haven't fucking been to the gym in a week, and I really just wanna move my body." Maybe I don't necessarily want to go to the gym. Maybe the discipline is saying, "Well, I'm going to go to the gym because it's going to allow me to do the thing." But the truth is I want to expend energy. I wanna get up. I wanna get out of the house. I wanna do the things. I wanna feel strong. I wanna feel the endorphins, like and so for me, like, are we feeling like the things that support that stuff are natural? Is it natural for me to be in the house for too long and then be like, fuck, I want to get up and go out and do something? Is it natural for me to be like, okay, I'm going to pick the lean protein source. I'm going to do the boneless chicken breast for lunch. I'm not going to do the,
Chicken
80
thigh.
right? Are those things more natural to me? And that's how I like to think of it personally, at least, is
Yeah, but that would be difficult. We're talking bodybuilding, so it's people who, but that would be very difficult for somebody trying to be healthier. That's not because eating a cake is going to feel real natural and real great. This is what they normally do. Uh,
right. So we have to retrain those things
yeah,
because if you're forcing that into saying like, okay, that's my natural and I want to do a bodybuilding thing, you are forcing yourself into a ton of things that are not natural for you. Some people may need to do that. We had people with bypasses and whatnot come into the cardiac rehab, and it wasn't a natural transition for them, but it was like, you're gonna fucking die if you don't make some goddamn changes here. The bodybuilding isn't that. So I do think that it's super important. Like, if you're like, oh, I really like the idea of bodybuilding, like, cool the jets a little bit. Don't not like bodybuilding. Love, sure, whatever. But recognize that bodybuilding is the culmination of all these fucking habits built on top of one another. And like, we only have so much mental bandwidth, right? If my dog's fucking all over the place and punching me in the face, my bandwidth is shorter. I have less to give. I'm not going to be able to give to all the same things. So if I'm trying to do all these changes, if I'm trying to do everything at once, think of all the energy that takes. Okay, well, what about your job? What about your relationships? What about your family? What about your pets? What about all the other stuff? Right? Where is that energy coming from? Because unless you just have this huge fucking surplus, it doesn't exist. Something's going to take a hit or not be the way you want it to. So instead of trying to do everything all at once, like, making those things feel more natural. So now, oh, it doesn't have to be as much energy for me to weigh my food because the fucking scale is already out on the counter. So when I'm putting my meal, and all my meals are already bulk prepped ahead of time. So when I'm putting that specific meal together, I can put my plate on the scale immediately. And then when I put my chicken on, look, it's automatically tallying and going there. And then I put my other stuff on, it's all, now I just throw it in the microwave and boom. It was easy. It was natural for me to make the decision that's beneficial for that goal. Um, as opposed to being like, oh fuck, I forgot to weigh my food, so now I got to guess, and now I'm stressed out, and now blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what I mean? And that's what I always look for is, do we have like those big ticket items, not perfect, but at least like feeling pretty natural, to where we're not going to dig a hole we can't get out of,
Yeah. Yeah.
or not be able to dig the hole.
Yep. And I think part of that too is we can take, we can probably, me and you, pull a handful of clients who are like, oh, they could be bodybuilders. Like they could do it. I feel like they would have it. But there is some times where I've had clients who get a month out from show. And sometimes you might find, yes, they are disciplined. Yes, they are motivated. They're a great client. But I have had people pull out of prep or recommended that they pull out of prep because you can tell that it's just not for them at this time. Like
Fuck
if
yeah.
you start to notice that bodybuilding is making you more unhappy than happy, it's a prep. I don't want to say bodybuilding because it's going to be rare where someone's like, I weight train 3 days a week. I'm just really unhappy about that. Like I just want to quit. But when you're deep into a prep, if you find that your relationships are suffering, your parenting is suffering, there's enough things adding up that are making you unhappy and not working. It is 1000% okay, and you're not a failure, to take a step back and be like, this might not be for me right now. Or, I've stepped out of 2 preps this year, not because I wanted to, but because I knew that that was the best thing at that time, because I could have pushed myself, when my son's in the hospital, I could have said, you know what? I'm disciplined. I'm gonna walk this hospital and get my cardio in. I'm gonna have my husband drive 2 hours to this hospital, bring me all my meals. Like, I could have done that, but for me, it just wasn't a realistic thing. It would have made me more unhappy to try to do that to myself than to just be the failure, if you will, and pull out a prep. And so recognize that it comes with experience in the sport too.
So I think there's a couple things. One, the idea that quitting is always bad. It is not. Quitting can oftentimes be a good thing. When you quit something, you now have more resources available for other things.
When
And
I quit
some
smoking,
things, for sure. And for some things, like, those resources can be much better spent, or putting them into that thing we are right now is a losing cause, right? It is like me and my fuck around investing lately. Like, I thought Lululemon was going to be a good fucking call because it
it
hit Bennett
wasn't.
500. Oh no, I'm down a lot. I'm down fucking like 30% on what I put into that stock.
Kick back for you though. I'd let that ride for a little bit.
It
Toilet
might,
paper
and
should
I'm
always
going
be a
to.
safe bet. Like, who's gonna just stop wiping their ass? No one.
Right. And I'm going to let it sit there because fucking diamond hands. But yeah, maybe I should have fucking gotten out earlier. I could have put that money somewhere else where it would have made me more money back. It's not a lot. I don't have that much money, but I'm fucking cheap, so I pay attention to it all. Um, and like, quitting can be this good thing. There's a book called Quit. I thought it was great. I read it when Jillian had left the bodybuilding team when she was working with them. It really made a big impression on me. I still like think about a lot of the things that kind of put into my brain often. But I also know people like it's priorities. So, like, when I got in my last prep, I was like, if this fucks up my relationship with Jillian or puts too much strain on it to where it's not acceptable, I'm fucking done with prep. If this makes me not a good coach and I'm not paying attention to my people and they're not getting what they need, I'm fucking done with prep. Like, so I went into it with non negotiable saying, these are my really important things in life. They will continue to be important. They're important before it, they're going to continue to be important during, and they're going to continue to be important after. And I think that's one of the places where in that planning, people don't recognize that like prep and bodybuilding tends to be a fucking bubble. And once you get sucked in, it is very easy for that to take over and like really take your attention away from any fucking thing else in the world because it's tough. You got to fucking pay
And I
attention to all
think
your meals.
that same thing that you just said will also make you more susceptible to do things that maybe you wouldn't otherwise. And I'm mostly talking about like PED use, PED use, because, I
Mhm.
just thought of this analogy in my mind. But when I was in my early 20s, I used the tanning bed religiously. Did I know it was bad for me? Yep. Did I care? No. I felt better. I looked great. I liked it for my complexion. I mean, I was like an Oompa Loompa. Like I was full in to being as dark as I could.
How did you grow so tall since then?
I'm not telling my secrets. Um, so one day when I was about 25, 26, a friend of mine, her mom, she's a nurse practitioner that does like Botox things. Like she's like, you should really stop that. You're gonna age your skin. And I'm like, but I actually listened to her and I slowly stopped doing it. I'm really glad I did because at 40, I would likely look very different. But I do wonder, had I never done it at all, what would I look like? And I use that analogy to say, if you are tempted to use steroids or you choose to, whatever, for a show, yes, it's going to probably benefit you in a positive way at that time, give or take.
For that thing,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
for
to
that
get you
for
better
maybe
for
that one.
bodybuilding. It's not gonna make you healthier. It's not gonna be a safer way, but it will likely maybe elevate your stage look or get you there sooner, right?
And I would argue there are plenty of people who do it and has the opposite impact. They do worse.
So here's where I was going. Okay, let's say that was 15 years ago was when I did tanning beds. I stopped. If I was to do a bunch of steroids now at 40 to get my pro card, in 15 years from now, what effects would that have had on me? And I think it's important to kind of try to think of it. And it's going to be harder for younger people because they're going to be like, oh, well, I'm fucking 20 when I was 5. Who gives a shit? You can't use that
Right.
same analogy. But
Yeah.
really think about anything you do in bodybuilding. If you decide to do back to back shows, if you decide, you're falling off plan, but you keep yourself in a prep anyway, and then you start to binge eat, what's that going to do to your body and your mentality for the next 10 years? Because some people struggle so bad post show, it might take 5, 6 years to get back to kind of their maintenance and a happy body that is kind of back to their baseline. Because when I went up post show, both shows, I ended up weighing more than I did when I started prep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it also goes to show, like we talked about habits and things feeling normal. The bodybuilding industry in the competitive bodybuilding industry normalizes a lot of shit.
Yep.
And that's not always a good thing. Like some of these things should not fucking be normalized. And so like, it's this weird thing because you're in that bubble. It's like most people outside the bubble will see it and they'll be like, "That's fucking stupid." Like, "That's what? No." And then they're fucking out and they don't listen to that person anymore. But when you're in the bubble, you're like, "Oh." And then somebody else mirrors it and they're like, "Oh." And it could still be categorically fucking false or categorically bad for you. You're like, And when you get into that, you start getting overcome with that, like you can create habits that also like we talk about good habits, we can create bad habits.
I've
And
seen many
habits,
of people get addicted to cardio and steps.
yeah, and habits can be very difficult to undo. So like in that same aspect, I still have habits that were from situations I was in as a fucking child, right? There's
Oh,
still things that I
same.
do, responses that I have that
Yep.
I don't fucking think about them. but they just happened. And then you gotta be like, oh, nope, fucking, we're gonna snatch that back and we're not gonna do that. But like, that's the immediate thing. And so you also have to be aware that getting into the sport absolutely has the opportunity to expose you to those things and kind of get those thought processes, habits, reactions kind of into you for a, a, a period of time. Which is why I always say, like, I'm a fucking terrible bodybuilding coach because I'm very open and honest with people. Like, yes, you can do this. Yes, it has a lot of good things. We just have to make sure that we navigate this correctly. And I think this is where you and I are probably pretty similar. Like having those conversations when people are bringing this stuff up, like, no, 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 we don't want to do that. This is why. This is why we want to keep it, and this is why we want to focus on that. Like these things can like really lead us astray or put us into bad places. And I think that with getting into it, you have to be aware, like with anything else, any person, anything, nobody has it all wrong. Like, it doesn't matter how much you hate somebody, there's a time in their life where they will say something that you'll agree with, or they have. And so whether it's bodybuilding, a person, whatever, like there's always going to be good and there's going to be bad. And so you have to be prepared that there's never going to be anything that's all good. And so you need to have some of that distance, skepticism, whatever you want to call it, going into things to keep yourself in a good spot overall, or to keep yourself in the best spot as you like navigate this stuff.
And I think something that's really prevalent that doesn't it probably helps at times it doesn't is I think bodybuilding, especially people who do prep, I think we all to some degree have a little bit of addictive personalities because we kind of strive off of how hard something is or it's like you just can't like if I go to a bodybuilding show I don't want to be in a prep now but if I go all of a sudden I'll just get the feels like man I just feel myself up there like so I think that is good and bad because I've seen in a sport before where there's people who are amazing people, they follow everything to a T, they give it everything they have, but the way they are genetically set up, they are never going to turn pro or they're never going to be a top. And they didn't do anything wrong. But with bodybuilding, there's no entry level baseline in terms of like, there's no like, you don't send in your photo and they're like, yeah, you're ready for the show. Or yeah, you have the shape. You just, anybody can do it, which is
Just
great.
the money. Just pay the entry
Yeah,
fee.
just pay a few $100. But that does, I think, make it worse because sometimes people who they just love the sport and they want it so bad and they will put their bodies. I mean, I'm following a couple girls now that I know. I mean, they're not coached by me, but they've been in prep all year. They keep showing up looking exactly the same and they just can't change their butt. You know what I mean? Like you can change your body, but they're never going to genetically look like the other girls. But I think it's very, very easy to get wrapped up in and some of those people too, I say that with I via those girls like internally. And so they might know that themselves. Their coach may know that, but they might just be like, hey, I love the sport. I don't really care. But they keep saying they want to turn pro. So I think, that's not the case. But it's very much okay and acceptable, even if you know, like, hey, I'm not gonna win, but like I like doing this. It gives me something to do. It gives me purpose. Same way I like to garden. Am I good at it? Not really. I've killed many a plants, but I don't just dig up all my plants and throw them in a pile and say gardening's not for me.
So I think, and this is one of those things that I know most people will not fucking say. So I'm gonna fucking say it. Like
Here we go.
for women, like if you think that it, y- how you look doesn't matter, it's literally about how you look. The entire sport is about how you look. So, like, how pretty you are may or may not impact how you place, depending on the show, the judge, the criteria, the class, whatever. If you're a mom and you have loose skin or quote unquote imperfections, even if you're lean enough and other people don't, guess what? That's part of the judging
Gonna beat
criteria.
you. Yeah. I mean,
So, like, I think what you were meaning was specifically like, okay, this girl's shoulders are wider, her waist is smaller, her dimensions make her look more like an hourglass. This person has a very narrow up and down physique. Their bone structure is set up that way. They have narrow clavicles. So they're never going to look the same as them. And when you look at that other person, just human nature, because of the shape of their physique, you tend to look at them. That other person, you don't as much, even if they're in great shape and yada, yada, whatever, like that person is always going to struggle more. And people don't fucking talk about it. Like no coach that I've ever fucking met that I know of has looked at somebody and had the conversation because I've had it. I had it with somebody. I'm like, look, I think you can go pro. I don't think you're quite ready yet. But when you get to the pro league, you're going to struggle because that is where all of those small genetic things absolutely are game changers and you cannot overcome. Like, could somebody else go put you on drugs and you put on muscle and you go pro? Yes. What happens now when all the other girls are at that same level doing the same drugs, doing the same shit, but their waists are smaller. Their fucking insertions on their muscle origins are just a little bit bubblier, right? Like blah, 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 whatever. And people don't talk about that. Instead, what happens, and I see it fucking so much. You'll get a coach be like, "You look so good. I don't," you're like, and yes, you do. I don't understand. Or like, no, 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 you're going to be this, you're going to do that. Like, oh, we just got to get in front of somebody else. Blah, 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 this, that. There's always something going on. But it's more about like being a cheerleader than setting them up to like succeed in competition. Um, and like I know you know this well because there's some coaches, they won't fucking work with you if you don't have the potential to go far in the sport or to be really successful. I know because, and I'm sure you know too, because we would get the people that weren't good enough, quote unquote,
Yeah.
right? Um, and it's like, well, of course, it's very and like there are certain things I've been saying this for a long time. Cody was going to be successful in the sport of bodybuilding, no matter what. Like, you wouldn't have known it looking at her at first, but as soon as we got some of the extra body fat off of her and you saw her at a leaner body comp, you're like, this girl is fucking made for what they say they want. She's super pretty. She's like very well taken care of. She has a ton of muscle. She lifts heavy. She has crazy shape and proportions. This is just like she's made for this. And then you look at me and you're like, well, that guy has a dong. He's definitely not made for bikini, you know?
But yeah, then you want to be Steven.
Yeah, but there's this huge in between part where it's like, okay, cool, I'm good enough to maybe go pro, but once I get there, it's going to take either a fuck ton of time, work, and stuff maybe I don't want to do to be successful at that level, or it's just not a possibility. And the weird part about bodybuilding is it's because all I have to do is pay, and I can compete. I don't have to qualify. Like, yes, I have to qualify for nationals, but I can do fucking shows over and over and over.
Yeah. Now in the men's, you do. Is there weight or is it just height with men's physique? It's just height.
Men's physique, you have a weight cap for your height. But for example, when I was there, um, they don't have one for men's physique amateurs. They do have it for class physique. I was about after 10 years of being a natural bodybuilder, I was still about 30 pounds, a little bit more than 30 pounds under my weight cap for classic.
Oh, yeah. So there was a lot of yeah.
Oh yeah. And that's a fucking big deal. So even for guys, like you'll see that like, oh, I've been training for fucking ever. I have a natural competitor, a natural pro bodybuilder that's competing next weekend. He is 140, just under 148 pounds right now. And he's like 5'6", 5'7". You're like, what the fuck? That dude's been training for a long time. He's been doing this for a long time. So you're like, well, if I've been doing this for this long and I'm still here and the people that are succeeding are over there, I have to objectively look at that and then set my expectations accordingly. It doesn't mean I can't do it. It doesn't mean that I shouldn't compete. It doesn't mean that it's not good for me, blah, blah, whatever. But if we expect to win and they're like, okay, the people that normally win are meeting conditioning standards and we'll say D class, they're around 120 pounds, give or take some. And we're in that same class and we're 110 pounds on stage
It's
and we've been
impossible.
training for a decade,
Yeah.
then maybe you got something to think about. And that, because it's a shitty conversation and it doesn't fucking sell you on hiring me. It doesn't sell you to pay me as a coach. You're like, fuck this guy. Like, he doesn't fucking believe in me. It's like, I know you can do the work. I know that you can work hard. I know that, like, it's not that. It's that, like, I don't want to steal from you by telling you I'm going to help you get something that I can realistically look at this and be like, one of these things is not like the other. It's not like it's a completely different fucking category, but it's just not quite there.
Yeah, and bodybuilding, I think the conversations are harder because it's about someone's physical appearance. Where if you were trying out for the Olympics and you're not fast enough, I mean, obviously you're not going to make it. You're not fast enough, right? But I think that makes it harder. I don't know what it's like for men, but I know for a female to hear, like, you're never going to have a small enough waist. That's tough. man. Because then for the rest of your life, you're going to hear that in the back of your mind. And it doesn't mean your waist isn't perfect. It just means for this sport, or if your proportions are off or whatever it is, I think it makes it a harder. Because when I've gotten feedback like get leaner, fine, that doesn't hurt my feelings. I just need to be leaner or grow glutes. That's never hurt my feelings. I'll grow my butt cheeks. But if I was to ever hear, like I never did, but if I would have heard like, well, I did hear this feedback actually, and get leaner, but don't get more shredded abs. That's not going to happen for me because where my body fat comes off, it comes off. So if I was to get leaner in my backside, in turn, I'm going to get more shredded in my abs. And so that's a genetic thing for me. My upper trunk, it just leans out before my lower body. And so I know that when I compete again, I just have to bring the conditioning and know they may say I'm too lean in front. They may say I'm too etched, which in bikini, I don't think they would. In fit model, they may. And
Eh,
so,
but that also, like, a, a good coach can sometimes help with this because sometimes the feedback you get, like what they tell you, like that, I would take that as okay. It's not that like that's not good feedback. I think the feedback realistically is you probably need more muscle in your
yeah,
glutes. Those need to
yeah, that
continue
would
to
legit
grow so that it
amazing.
has
Yeah,
the look of them being leaner with you being the same body
yes,
composition
agreed
or
with that.
being a reasonable weight, same weight
Or
maybe.
low, have more fats maybe leading up into peak week to try to wash out the abs a little bit. There's different manipulations there, but I was trying to use an example. But like if you got, I do have a little bit of loose skin now from 2 kids. I don't think it would be noticeable on stage, but it is there. So if I was to ever get feedback, oh, I take that back. I did get not hurt feeling feedback, but I competed 8 months after having Pearl. And the feedback was conditioning was great, but you need to get better abdomen control. I
Oh yeah,
physically couldn't. I was 8 months. The judge didn't know that. They don't get a rundown of your bio, but it did hurt my feelings because I was like, fuck, did having kids mean I'm not going to be able to compete? Yeah, I didn't realize that I competed way sooner than I ever would now. But I didn't realize at the time I just needed a year and a half to 2 years for all that to really like go back. And so getting feedback like that does suck, but it didn't make me, because that's just, it didn't make me think, okay, what PEDs could I get leaner or what, I didn't try to think of crazy manipulations. I just thought, okay, I'll just keep putting in the work and we'll just see if this gets better.
well, I also think it's important to like contextualize this idea that the sport of bodybuilding is just some people's fucking opinions of like what they like people to look like.
Yep.
And we definitely,
Literally
I
a
think,
bunch of men one day went into a room and decided what they wanted the standard to be. Like that is the truth.
eh,
Well, at least for NPCI FBB, because I know they're run, by the Manions and men. I don't know about natural divisions who owns those federations.
right. And so it is a couple of people saying, this is what we want for this. And so when you recognize that, when they're like, oh, well, this is what we want, and everybody's different, like maybe I don't want to be what everybody wants. Like that sounds fucking awful to me. Um, and so maybe I
The
don't
Stepford wives up there on the on stage.
right? And so maybe I don't want to fucking be what they want, right? Or maybe I don't want to do what it takes to be what they want. And that's okay too. When you recognize that that standard of bodybuilding that they're judging you against is literally just somebody's fucking opinion. There's no objectivity to it, really. Maybe there's some if you really understand it and like you understand what they're looking for. But like, there's no, it's not like a data point where you can say this is better.
Yeah,
Like,
I
oh,
think anybody thinking about competing, or even if you have and you've been confused by feedback, I think it'd be very beneficial. Tyler Mannion has posted, like he always does like a recap of like the Olympia and things like that. Listening to those gives you pretty good insight on how objective it is and how like Maureen's posing can outweigh conditioning. Like that's just the sport. And
if you really want to know, listen to the one he did from Bikini Olympia for this year.
yeah, that's what I,
That will tell you because it is quite. I won't say anything, but it is quite evident how he feels about it, and it very much sends a very specific message.
yeah. And so I think, but listening to something like that will really open up like, oh, okay. Because for a female, that you don't weigh in for bikini and fit model. They don't know what you weigh, and they don't, nobody do they know. I mean, if it's somebody super popular, like there's probably not a single judge that doesn't know quite a bit about Laura Lee, for example. You know what I mean? Like she's just prominent in the industry, but on an amateur level, they don't know you. They don't know what struggle you went through. They don't know what you looked like before you started prep. They don't know if you trained harder than the girl next to you, and they literally don't care. They are there to judge your physique, move you along stage, and that's their job.
Yeah. So it's just it's this weird thing, right? Like you have to be ready for that shit to some degree. That's what I like people that have most of the stuff, I think, in line, feeling good, natural, discipline, whatever. Because when that shit hits the fan, like when we didn't get the placing we wanted, even though we worked hard as fuck, or when somebody gives us feedback on our physique and something, and it does really hit us personally, right? Where it hits us in a spot where we're just really, like it's like, oh fuck, that's been a thing for me that I've always been worried about, and it hits that soft spot. That way, you're not. It's not going to be this thing that fucking takes you away from being healthy and active. Still, it's not going to like rock you to your core.
I think having a
That's
good
what you see a lot
coach
of.
is an aspect of that too, because I've had clients where I'm like, hey, if you want to do a show, we can, but you do need a little bit more muscle. So if you want to go ahead and do a prep, I'm not going to tell a client, no, you don't look good enough, or you're not going to like, no, I tell them this is what, this might be how you place because we do need to develop your glutes a little bit, whatever it is. But they go in knowing that. So then when they hear that feedback, I feel like it's probably lighter on their heart
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, me and my coach knew that. Like, we're just, that's cool. Or maybe it's their first show. And they're like, hey, we're going to need to get maybe 5 pounds down from this, but they want to do a warm up show or whatever it is. And so they know going in, they may say conditioning. Cool. Like, I already know that. So having a coach that can be very realistic with you on expectations. And sometimes too, I've had clients where I'm like, if you don't win, I'm going to be very surprised because they just like I
Yeah.
know the standard and they look good. But then here comes a fucking unicorn into their class. And so I try to I very rarely, if I tell a client, like, I really think like you might turn pro at this show, whatever it is, I try to use that. Like, if I'm saying that, I truly, truly believe it, but I still don't give them like false hope, but
Yeah,
I
we're not
think,
trying to put smoke up your
yeah,
ass.
but I'm not telling every client, like, you're going to win this. Like, no, because sometimes you're just not.
I have people that like I absolutely believe are gonna fucking smoke it, and I still won't. I'm like, we at least know you should be in the mix coming in like this.
Yeah, usually
Like
I kind of
we're
look
at
at
least
like,
gonna be competitive.
yeah, like that. I don't think I've ever been like, you're gonna win no matter what. But I've seen coaches post about their clients saying they're gonna kill all this stuff. And
And then they get like seventh.
I know it's like, what
Yeah.
do you? But that's everybody gets to coach and be how they want to be. That's life. Yeah,
All right, so
going
we want
in
to.
realistic, I think, is the smartest move there.
I think we really killed that one. So maybe let's talk a little about the coaches. So the Reddit post that I saw was, okay, this person signed up for coaching because somebody they knew had been making good progress
Okay,
with a coach. That person was with the team, and that person got put with a different coach. It seems weird to me. I know maybe because we do like consults. It's like if you're talking to me, you're obviously going to fucking work with me.
right.
I'm not going to talk with you
So
to
they
have you work.
talked with one coach, but then once they signed up, they got moved to another.
I'm not sure they even talked with the coach
Oh,
um,
but they thought they were
before they
signing
signed up.
up with one coach and then were elected to a different one.
Right.
Okay.
Um, so like this is one of the things that, and not every team is like this, right? Like there's um,
Different
different teams
protocols
maybe
probably
do
for
it
each.
differently.
Yeah.
Maybe different people communicate differently. Maybe that was communicated to this person. I don't fucking know. But they got a very different experience. And so we had that like problem on the team we used to be on. Where like depending on who you were working with, it could be a very different experience. Um, and it was like I think it's important for people to like, okay, if you have a coach that is by themselves, obviously you can probably say, okay, we know what to expect based on other people's feedback and what we're seeing out there and reviews, blah blah blah. If I sign up with a team, they're not always going to get the same shit.
Yeah.
Um,
Or you could get moved even in. I'm trying to think of any scenarios, but that happened where I got other coaches' clients because maybe they were going to be like having a baby and they were taking time off. And so it's like, oh, hey, you're going to be with this coach now. And then I got them. Um, so that's part of when you're on a team, you may, yeah. When I even had a new client call and she was like, recently on my own, she's like, oh, I actually get to talk to you. I'm like, yeah, I'm the only one that works for me. And she's like, well, I've been doing consults with potential coaches and sometimes someone else does the initial call. And I'm like, I didn't say anything. I try not to be negative about other coaches on a client call, but I was thinking to myself, like, how bizarre would it be that someone else did the intake call, which I get a whole lot of information and just get to hear their voice and get to know who they are as a person. You can tell a lot about someone's personality by how they talk. I can't imagine someone else doing that, taking notes and then emailing it to a coach, like, hey, this person's yours. Talk to them. They're ready to go.
So that's actually not too wild anymore.
I had no idea that was a thing.
So what it is, and I mean, I don't know if you've noticed that there's this huge, and it's been for a while. There's been this huge, like, be a six-figure coach, like business
Oh,
practices, all
yeah.
these like people doing things.
I get a lot
So I think
weekly thing. Would you like to take your coaching to the next level?
right. So I think what that is that's now a lot of people are using sales teams specifically for like consults and that kind of stuff to sell coaching packages or to sell that to people
Yep.
that are
Same with those
inquiring.
automated stupid Instagram. I'll follow someone like, oh, they're motivating. I like them. And then if I get a bounce back right away, thank you for following me. What made you follow me? I'm like, nope, unfollow.
What about the comment carnage to get your thing today?
Yes, I don't. Oh
Yeah.
man, it's getting wild, wild west out there. But I know it's like it's working for people. But social media is the new advertising, right? Nobody buys magazines hardly anymore. Nobody even hardly watches the news. They get it from the amount of times Jake will tell me something about the news, and I'm like, did you Google that or did you read it somewhere on like social
Yeah,
media?
social media fucks people up with that stuff.
Yeah.
But so I think that's a lot more common than what you and I would expect on
It
that
just
nowadays.
blows my mind that you would take someone's money and that someone would trust that this coach was going to take care of them when someone else did that. Like, wow.
So yeah, so I think it's important to like fucking talk to the person that you're going to hire beforehand.
Yes.
If
What
they're fucking too,
questions?
like here's my 2 cents on it. If I'm fucking too busy to have a conversation with you before I take your money to work with you to coach you, which is a personal relationship where I need to have a fucking half a clue about who you are and how you work, then I'm too busy to coach you. Like plain and simple.
Yep.
Either that or I didn't want to coach you from the
Or
first
you
place.
just, yeah, you're in coaching for the money, which happens in every single job has people who don't really want to be there. They're there because they have to be. They want to get a paycheck or they thought it would be easier than doing something else. And so I worked in nursing before coaching, and nursing homes are filled with people who don't want to be there working, but they need a job or that maybe they started it and just never, went to find whatever it is. But coaching has the same thing. Or maybe they are good people, but they don't genuinely care if you lose your weight or hit your goal. They're just there to get your money, answer your check in, and move on.
Yeah, so I think where it takes me is make sure if you're hiring somebody for as a bodybuilding coach to get you to stage or to prepare you to like be ready to get to stage, yada yada, whatever, fucking have some sort of real interaction with them. Like do some due diligence. There's a lot of we are not infallible. We are not always right. We don't fucking know everything. And so that goes across the board. But there is this very normalized idea that your coach does fucking know everything. They should do everything for you. They, yada, whatever. And that is a dangerous place to be because I don't even fucking feel that way about my doctors or my surgeons. Like I grill those motherfuckers, right? Um, because I'm like, well, this is important to me and it's going to have a big impact on me. And so make sure that you're actually going through with this because what you don't want to do is, and it's the same thing that happens with people that get in those crazy fucking preps and like, fuck bodybuilding, this is stupid. I was like, well, hold on. What if bodybuilding wasn't 2 hours of Stairmaster every day and 800 calories every day and just tilapia and asparagus? Would it still be fuck bodybuilding then? Oh, well, maybe not. Like, what if it was, for the most part, 1,500 calories a day and maybe 4 hours of cardio a week? And then towards the end, yeah, we got to maybe we're doing an hour of cardio or a little bit more a day. And maybe we're at 1,200 calories and we're like doing it's still working hard, but it's not to that extreme. Well, maybe, yeah, maybe not. Fuck that. I might enjoy that. It sounds like it'll be tough at the end, but like, that doesn't sound like unthinkable or something that makes me want to hate life. Oh, okay, cool. But that's what this does in this coaching relationship. But it doesn't just do it with bodybuilding. It can do it with your relationship with health and fitness in general, your relationship with food, your relationship with how you see yourself. And so it's super important to make sure that whoever you're choosing to help guide you in this and help lead you and be a part of your life and your journey with this is somebody who you feel comfortable with their approaches and their ethics on it match your own.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that 1000%.
I had some other shit, but yeah, I also think that part of the thing that why so many coaches are out there that are more worried about the money is because we have also, I think, glamorized it. The same thing that bodybuilding does, right? Competitive bodybuilding glamorizes a process that is not fucking glamorous at all, right? It is a lot of hard work, hard days, um, not feeling great, and stuff involved in
Yeah,
that.
and it's for a one-time look. Like, it's that day that you're gonna look exactly like that. Because I know after my first show, I mean, I post pictures of myself online, so I have my shredded abs on there, my stage photos, and it was like 2 or 3 weeks later, and I had rebounded pretty bad, and somebody was like, "Where's your abs at now?" I remember feeling about this fucking big because I was like, here I was posting about how great I looked, how great I, whatever, and then it's a temporary state. And that, I mean, that's for anything. I mean, at any time, like what my body looks like exactly today is going to be different tomorrow. Not by a lot, but it's not going to be exactly the same.
You should have done the truffle shuffle as a fucking
I probably had quite a
off
few
one, and it's
truffles
like,
post
here's my
show.
abs right here.
Man, that first show, I had a tub of treats I had collected over the months, and I just went like Jake had to go to Walgreens and get me like Imodium, and like I thought I was dying on the floor of my hotel room because I had eaten so much crap, and we had to get on a plane the next day to go to Mexico, which was also a terrible fucking idea post show for my first.
And that's not uncommon, by the way. It's not uncommon that people do that after their first
Because
shows
you
and stuff
wanna
because
treat yourself, right? Like, you're either like, "Oh, I'm gonna go on this vacation as my good job," or mine, I go deep diving into buying way too much workout clothes that won't fit me post-show.
yeah. And to be fair, like, what value does having visible abs really add? Like,
Not one.
for me, to my life, I mean, maybe for me, it's a marketing ploy. Like, sure, I
Yeah,
could use
yeah, it
that.
helps marketing, but I am
That's
almost
about it.
I hope to God 40 years from now, when I am old, my kids aren't like, you would have been a lot better mom if you had better abs. Like, if you'd been a little more shredded, I think my childhood would have been better. Like, my kids are not going to say that. And my kids and my husband at the end of the day and really just my kids, because sometimes, my husband, I care about his opinion, but I'm not going to base my looks off what he says. But like, I care that my kids are like, Mom, you were active with us. Like, I have no doubt Pearl's gonna tell stories about how much fun she had training with me in the basement.
For sure. And like being able to ride its four wheelers and do the other stuff too. Like, so it's also say, like, you got to be, and it's hard because you're getting into it. You don't fucking know everything. And I think that's where it really comes down to, like, when the rubber meets the road of how we're getting into this, what sets us up to have long-term healthy relationship with the sport and be able to continue doing that year after year or, you know, decade after decade. Don't compete year after year. Don't
Yeah,
fucking
I
do
think
that.
a lot of people's perspectives on what to expect is gonna be about who they follow on social media and if they have friends who've competed, because their expectations of what's gonna happen is gonna be based off how someone else's prep went or show went or whatever it is, right? Till they learn it themselves. You're just going off of what you've read about or seen.
Right. And remember, social media is a fucking marketing highlight. It's a glamorization, right? Because most people who compete have some sort of thing that makes them money that's associated or tied to that. Like, I compete, I coach. Guess what? If I compete and I look good, more people hire me as a coach. So for me to, if I'm competing and looking crazy or whatever, and I'm really saying, oh, this is so great, well, then those people are going to be, oh, well, I want to look at like him and look how great he says it is. I can do that. Let me invest in that. Let me get involved in this. And so again, it's just and a lot of people aren't fucking honest about it. It's very rose colored glasses, and I'm not saying it's a fucking bad thing because I feel like a lot of people probably be like, Steven doesn't even like bodybuilding. I was like, I fucking love bodybuilding.
I know I do too. But I like to be realistic. Like, I like people to be set up. I almost want to not make them scared, but I want them to like really be prepared. And sometimes it might just come off aggressively.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was like the conversations I was having with Joe before she started the nursing program up again. I was like, you know, it's going to be really hard, right? We're going to pay for it, blah, blah, whatever. We got this taken care of. But There are gonna be days where you don't feel like doing the shit that you need to do, and there's gonna be things that you're gonna see and that are gonna, be difficult to deal with emotionally, and it's gonna be very hard on your time and XYZ, whatever. And it's like, I want her to do it. I wanted her to do it the whole time. But if you just look at that and you're like, well, he's kind of being negative about it. I'm like, no, 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 no. I just want you to be prepared for it so that you can make it through. And that when you get through to the other side, you're still in one piece and whole.
I think you and I are very similar in personality trait of we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings or make them feel like we're being negative, but I feel like we both try to cushion somebody to not feel bad later or to not struggle later. Like I like to try because the kindness in me and Steven, we just want people to be
Hmm.
prepared. Like I would feel devastated. I would feel like a piece of shit if I didn't explain post show or what to expect, and then a client is like flailing in the wind post show, and I'm like, oh yeah, I knew this was gonna happen. I just didn't tell you.
Right. Again, it's short term discomfort to make sure that we have long term success. Um, and to be fair, I don't know a fucking better way to explain what bodybuilding is, other than like a lot of discomfort for success at the end. After longer than we probably think it needs to be. Fuck, we didn't even touch on so many things. We
Like
suck.
write it down somewhere for for other episodes. Because anybody who's wondering how we run this podcast, we start the video and we ask each other, what do you want to talk about today?
We don't like we get on and then we're like, and then we press record after we figure it the fuck out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. We just don't talk shit about whatever in our lives and be like, ooh, I got an idea. That'd be pretty funny.
Side note, I absolutely will fucking talk shit about other coaches on console calls. I will also fucking praise other coaches on console calls. If you get on a console call with me and everything you tell me, I'm like, those are the same things I would do. I will fucking tell you that. I'll be
Yeah,
like,
I would too. But I
honestly,
try really hard not to talk shit.
yeah, I'll be like, honestly, it sounds like most of the things they're doing are in line with what I would expect and what I would say are best practices. Maybe you just need to talk with them and have a conversation. I'm happy to take you on, but like, it's going to be pretty similar in terms of approach.
Yeah.
And then there are other ones where I'm like, somebody else tell me something they're doing or that their coach has, I'm like, that is fucking dumb.
You would say that. I would probably
I
I'd be
do
like,
say
okay,
that.
that's not ideal or how I would do it. I try to soften it, but maybe that's because I have kids, or I think it's because I worked in nursing homes for 15 years. And those old people
No
can be
way.
mean as fuck sometimes, and you just have to like really, really try to talk delicate. Little
Like,
little ticking time bombs.
if it's a middle ground issue, sure, then I don't have to be as like, but if it's one of those things and you're like, what the fuck? I'm absolutely going to be upfront and honest with you about that and be like, that is stupid.
I don't think I've
Like,
ever heard something so bizarre where I was like, what the fuck?
I mean, it's like the people telling me always the worst horror stories of like 600 calories a day shit,
Yeah.
or the fucking this and that, or um, like just things that if somebody were to tell you what you're doing, you're like, oh, you're going to hurt yourself doing that. You're like, that's fucking stupid. Why would we do that then if we know we're going to fucking put ourselves in this really easy position to get hurt or fucked up? I'm like, okay. And I tell people that shit 100%.
Stephen,
No holds barred.
no holds. All right.
You got to be fucking real because if you don't, then I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's okay here and there. And it's
Yeah, no,
like,
I agree with that. I say the same things as you. I soften them a little bit more, I think. But maybe that's because I'm female. I don't know. But same things come out of my mouth just in a different way.
it's only been a few times I've been that fucking
Yeah.
abrupt about it, that direct. Most of the time, I'm like, yeah, I would prefer if it's like, oh, let's explain the physiology of why this doesn't matter. But I
Let me
also had that
explain to you
happen.
why this is fucked.
Yeah, I also had that. I've had that happen so many times. Honestly, at shows with judges, where they're like, we're talking about something like water manipulation things,
Oh, yeah.
and I explained the physiology, and I'm like, yeah, well, that just doesn't work for me. I was like, oh, okay, human physiology doesn't work for you. Just keep doing whatever the fuck you want to do. Okay,
Yeah. There's a lot of that
dogs.
mentality, though, in bodybuilding of, well, it's worked. It's worked all this time. Like,
Well,
okay.
and also like they're like, oh, well, I always feel like I fucking hit my peak the next day or 2 days afterwards. I was like, then it doesn't fucking work, does it? Doesn't
Hello,
fucking work.
sodium and water. Welcome to
You
the
ever fucking
show.
done it differently? How do you know then? How do you know the other way doesn't work? Because you just told that person they're the best they ever fucking looked. And guess what we did?
Yeah.
Fucking A.